Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Fires upfield into the end zone, and it's caught. Jelani Woods, touchdown!
A 43-point night for Tyrese Halliburton.
How do you like that, partner?
Galloway drives all the way to the hole, throws it off, got it! Indiana's got their first lead of this contest.
I mean, that's a goddamn Emmy winner right there.
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome aboard another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you here on this Tuesday. This is my final day in New York City as Indiana has wrapped up play in the Empire Classic for 2023 as they get a win over Louisville yesterday. UConn completing the championship, beating Texas. Looking forward to talking to Mike DeCourcy, chronic Hoosier, and we'll see what else we can get scared up for you today. John, the producer, along for the ride. Appreciate everybody else being on board as well. Thanks for hitting us up early and often on the Andy Moore Honda hotline. And shout out to all of our peeps, all on our affiliates, whether it's down on the river on ESPN 97.7 The Ref in Evansville, up in the region on 1230, 104.7 FM WJOB, the voice of the region, or over in Fort Wayne, 1380 The Fan, Fort Wayne's only sports station. Make sure you keep tuned in to Caleb and Kenny in the morning and the Sports Rush right after Indiana Sports Beat Radio. How's everybody doing today? Appreciate you joining us. Looking forward to getting back to the Hoosier State. New York City is a tiring place to be. I can promise you that. But lots that has gone on. Indiana basketball, of course, a discussion. Indiana football, a discussion. The Big Ten football, plenty to talk about there. And might as well just get to it. John Boy, how's your days been?
You know, yesterday was interesting. On the other show that I do, we were essentially giving our own live commentary of the U of L versus Indiana game, just because it was going on as our afternoon show was going on. So very interesting to see that play out as we were on the air, especially really, it was a very back and forth affair. And it wasn't the prettiest game, but it was definitely something that was, neither team was able to seize momentum until towards the very end when Mike Woodson finally made that change to his zone defense. And I'm sure you heard this, Jim, but Kenny Payne made a comment after the game saying that Woody had tricked him, believing that he would never go to his own defense and that he had no answer for that kind of thing, which was kind of baffling from the U of L perspective.
Not really. I mean, that's just something he didn't expect. But yeah, I was sitting right there in the front row for that press conference. But a good game as far as being close. But like you said, it wasn't necessarily the prettiest game. But although, when you have a good game, when it's back and forth like that, hey, there's nothing ugly about that. I think there was a lot of positives for Louisville coming out of this weekend, without question, as they have not had a good run here the last couple of years, but they played Texas very, very tight. They probably, you couldn't say should have, but they easily could have beaten Texas. And they had Indiana on the ropes until Louisville had a bad end to both halves.
That's true.
My question to Kenny Payne was they went 7 out of the last 9 minutes of the first half without a field goal. And Indiana was able to put a stretch like that on them again in the second half as they went on that gigantic run to put the game away. But Gritty said she listened to the post game with Don Fisher, and playing zone wasn't Coach Woodson's idea, but he took the suggestion and it paid off. Glad he is humble enough to listen to others. Yeah, I think I saw somewhere that it was the players that suggested that. So there you go. Howie's saying the zone was mostly the players. suggestion in the in a huddle, and I don't know what that says, but either they've got some really smart players or maybe they need to make more decisions. Gritty says she thinks it was a specific player. But Indiana now has to continue a tough stretch coming up. They've got a Harvard team that is, I promise you, that won't be an easy game. Philip asking shows Thursday and Friday. No. John, tell him. I tried, but John wouldn't.
No, we're taking off Thursday and Friday. But if you are listening on radio, there will be shows that have some of our best segments from the past several months, including remembering Bob Knight that happened earlier in November. We'll have several segments from that day specifically, and we'll be back on Monday after we finish up tomorrow. I actually won't be here tomorrow. Jim will still be here, but collectively we will be gone Thursday and Friday.
Yeah, and I'm not going to lie. I'm looking forward to it. It seems like it's been forever since I haven't done something, especially doing these double shows. It's like, okay, that's enough. But, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Kylie on Friday. So looking forward to that. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone before I forget, even though it's a little early. But never too early. And it's kind of wild being in New York at this time because I was right in front of Macy's yesterday. I think I found myself right in front of Macy's. I was like, wow. And there was that big old turkey sitting right up on top of the entrance. I guess they have a couple of those. Those are ones they bring down in the parade. And I was right where the ground zero of the parade. I could tell because how they had it painted. I was at 30 Rock the other night and they had just lit this big design that was across from 30 Rock. So kind of a cool thing being here at this time. Howie wants a fight montage. Well, that would be short. There would just be the one to put into there. And I guess he's referring to the post game the other day. Yeah, that was funny. That could have been bad. Sean says this team shows flashes of winning basketball. Galloway looks really uncomfortable. I think the whole team looks uncomfortable. That's the best word yet, uncomfortable. There's no comfortability with this team. Mackenzie Mbako looks really uncomfortable. Gabe Cupps looked really uncomfortable yesterday. He's a freshman, don't forget. So all this great things you guys see, don't forget, these guys are freshmen. They were in high school last year. High school. So, and now they're playing against guys that played in a national championship game last year. So, Andrew McCurry, no clear leadership. You know what? That's I can't disagree with that because and I made the comment in the postgame show for Indiana yesterday that Malik Renew is looking more like a leader on the floor during a timeout. I saw him taking control of the huddle, but how much that's truly there, I don't know. Derek says Vic's speech to the team after the game was great. Yeah, I didn't see that. So yeah, it will take time. They've played 4 games, so yeah, just got to chill and see how it goes. But I'm gonna tell you, I don't know how much I expect from this team now. You've got some decent pieces, but I have not seen them play together yet, and I'm a little befuddled, I guess I'd say, but. Hey, you got to let it roll on. You've got soccer coming up, not till next Sunday, though. I can't believe that they get the whole week off. But Indiana men's soccer taking on Virginia in the next round in the Sweet 16 as they look to move on, trying to reach a college cup. Fozan, how are you, sir? The word is that the players suggested, yes. 5 Left says Malik is trying very hard to be a leader. Well, yeah, I could see it on the floor, like I said. He was just the guy that was doing the speaking in the huddles, and this team definitely needs it. I wonder how much leadership they truly have. It doesn't. This does not look like a team that is together on the floor. They're just not smooth, and time will tell. Time will tell. How's everybody else doing? How's your Thanksgiving look up? What makes New York City tiring? Walking. There's a lot of walking. That's the first and foremost thing. Everything you do here, you walk. I guess you could get in a taxi every 2 seconds, but that would get expensive. So there's that, John Boy. How's your Thanksgiving looking?
It's looking, it's a very typical Thanksgiving week for me. I was trying to pop in. I was going to ask you, did you happen to catch any of the Maui Invitational last night and listen to any of the Bill Walton on the call?
Unfortunately, I did not. Please do enlighten me some good
couple
stuff.
Things I want to mention. There was a couple of very interesting Bill Walton isms that took place. One, he accidentally referred to Shaka Smart as Shaka Khan. That's one thing he did. He asked if the player on Marquette, his name was Oso Iguodaro. He asked if he was related to Andre Iguodala. And then during the Kansas and Chaminade game, he made a reference to his partner on the broadcast, saying something about his father passing away, which was super bizarre. And it was the first two were more funny than the last one, obviously, but it's crazy that in one night we already have 3 interesting Bill Walton isms from the Maui Invitational, and it was only day one.
It's back. The Walton Man returns, so looking forward to it. I hate that I missed it. I was trying to watch some of the Manning cast, but it's just too tiring trying to do all that. So, but we've got a lot more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Mike DeCourcy will join us up next from the Sporting News. We'll be back with that and much more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
In the I dream a genie with the light brown hair.
Of a white Christmas.
Man, as bad as I sound.
Oh, man.
So, Mike and Chronic, and that's it for the moment.
Yeah, where is Mike for Feast Week? Is he anywhere specific, or is he?
Nah, I would say no.
He doesn't go to Maui, does he?
That's an ESPN thing.
Okay. Yeah, because there aren't any Fox tournaments that I'm aware of. It is interesting how on, especially in night one of Indiana versus UConn, both teams that no longer have contracts with the ESPN, and they're both playing on ESPN.
UConn does it?
No, because they have the Fox deal with the Big East.
Ah.
It may be different than the Big Tens. It may not be exclusive like the Big Ten is with Fox.
Any other games last night that I missed?
Oh, there was plenty of games. Purdue beat Gonzaga by 10.
Yes.
UConn beat Texas by 10. Marquette beat UCLA by 2. Kentucky went to overtime with St. Joseph's.
Yeah,
they won.
One game at the halftime.
Wisconsin beat Virginia by 24. those are kind of the big results, at least in the top 25. Just got a Loudwire notification that the Rolling Stones just announced a 2024 tour. I know you're a Rolling Stones fan.
Yeah, I saw that on the Today Show. Well, I got on the show.
All right. I'm guessing Mike will be on shortly. I haven't heard from him otherwise, but hopefully he'll hop on with us. But here we go.
Of 2023 for just $299. That's right. Play as many rounds as you like for just $299. That's better than a birdie. But you don't have to be a student to play at Eagle Point. Go online to set your tee time or call 812-824-4040. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by the Chop Shop, home of the Indiana football and men's basketball coaches shows. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Tuesday's last day from New York. And Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News joins us now. Mike, how are you, sir?
I am doing well, Jim. You're in New York City. I am mentally in Hawaii and the Bahamas. That's where I've been spending a lot of my time. Trinidad a little bit last night for a couple hours. But I even, in honor of today, this week being the big tournament, I haven't been in Maui for like 20 years, but I was in the Bahamas last spring. So I've got my Atlantis swim shirt on.
Absolutely. Battle for Atlantis.
There you go.
College basketball is definitely underway. Games all over the place. The tournaments that are going on, not preseason, but the early season tournaments, Thanksgiving tournaments. It's just a litany of things, of different games, of different leagues playing, and people that are worried about their own teams. Look around, man. It's something that is happening everywhere. Kentucky goes into overtime with St. Joseph's. Virginia gets killed by Wisconsin. So there's just an example you can find anywhere. It doesn't matter if you're an Indiana fan or whomever you're a fan of. It's there are teams that are going through all kinds of stuff, and there are just a lot of teams that are just good, or at least competitive now. So I think college basketball is just getting at a point to where the water is leveling.
It's a very balanced year, Jim. I've seen a lot of the top teams play now. Obviously, I saw Purdue in person last week and saw the 4 of the Champions Classic, which were 4 of the top dozen teams or so in the country. And nobody's great. Nobody's extraordinary. If extraordinary is out there, maybe UConn, because they're playing pretty well without Stephon Castle. They'll get him back. ESPN's Myron Metcalf reported yesterday he's hoping to be back December 1st. I think they play Kansas right around there. UConn does. So maybe they could be that team, but I don't see it otherwise at this point. And, there's a lot of basketball to be played, and someone may evolve into that by the time we get to February. But right now, it looks like a very balanced year with a lot of teams that will have a shot at getting to the Final Four in Phoenix.
Yeah, I mean, UConn looked really good and solid without their best player, of course, but they are still looking pretty. Kansas is probably a team that deservedly looks to be number one until someone.
I would have UConn number one now. I've seen them both. Kansas has 3 terrific players, 2 extraordinary players, DeJuan Harris and Hunter Dickinson, and Kevin McCullough's a very, very good college wing. But the rest of it isn't there for that team to be number one in the country right now. Now, as I said, I believe Connecticut plays Kansas on or about December 1st, and they'll get a chance to settle that on the floor. But if you're into that sort of thing, who's number one right now? The best team in the country at this stage looks to be Connecticut. And they did win it last year. So I don't know, maybe they should get to keep the crown until somebody actually beats them or challenges them.
They're the champions until someone knocks them off, until someone takes it away.
Coach K always used to say that he hated the word defending champion. He would not allow his players, and they had the opportunity to play as this once or twice or 5 times, that he would not allow his players to say they were the defending champions. He would not, and he would try to tell the media that in 2002 or in 1991, 92 or 1993, they were not defending champions. You could say reigning champions, but they weren't defending anything. Nobody was going to storm Cameron Indoor Stadium if the Blue Devils got beat and take away their 1992 championship trophy. It's theirs for good. It's not going anywhere. And so he always used to say that. And so I think UConn, they may not be defending it because it's really a much different team. They still have a lot of the same players. And we saw Alex Caravan last night. What a star he was against Texas. He was the difference down the stretch. Without Castle, who's their best pro prospect, with their best big guy not playing a huge role, Caravan was just fantastic. He's a player I really fell in love with last year, watching him along the stretch on the way to the championship. 6'7", 6'8" wing, not the most dynamic guy on the planet. He's not going to win the high jump competition. But you know what? The first priority in basketball is put the ball in the basket, and he's really good at that.
Absolutely. And Texas looking okay, I guess you'd say, through this, as good as anything. They made it to the championship game, and a 10-point loss to the number 1 team in the country, who should be number 1 team in the country, the reigning national champion. Not bad. Louisville, a lot of reason for hope for those people, fans of Louisville, because they've had, last season was not good, and this season started off with a loss to Kentucky Wesleyan. But man, I still can't believe that shot fell by Texas against that. Sky Clark was in that guy's face. He was truly falling away, and that shot was just pure money.
Max Asmus, you have to remember, he's one of the leading career scorers in college basketball. I'm not sure how many points he has right now, but he rang up a ton of points for Oral Roberts over the last several years. He was an NCAA tournament terror a couple of years ago. I think it was against Ohio State. I think they played, and he's just a fantastic college basketball player. And when you're a scorer at a place like Oral Roberts, that's you gotta make a lot of tough shots, because you're gonna play. When you play the best teams, you're looking at players. Teams really guard you hard with big athletes, and so he had to be able to do that, and he's really special in that way. We're talking about a guy who's going to become another, because of the COVID year, he's going to become another 3,000-point scorer in NCAA history. There aren't that many of those. That there are few. I believe there are fewer than a dozen all-time 3,000-point scorers, and Max will become, as long as he stays healthy, he'll become one of them. He's on 2,629 points now. He's been over 600 points the last 3 years of his career. So he only needs another 380 points or so. He's going to get that, averaging 16 a game, 17 a game right now. He's going to make it to 3,000. And I don't know, he's going to score in too many bigger points than that one, though, against Louisville. It was quite a shot.
Oh, man, I'm telling you. Purdue took on a Gonzaga team yesterday, a game of ranked teams, number 2 Purdue, number 11 Gonzaga, 73-63 win by Purdue. Solid win. I didn't get to see the game.
Oh, yeah, it's interesting because you were at the Indiana game. I am trying to figure out, how do I watch both at once? So the good thing was, because IU and Louisville aren't ranked, they didn't repeat the score a lot at the bottom. So it wasn't stuck in my face like will happen sometimes. So I was taping both games at the same time, and so what I did was I would I would flick back to the recording of the Indiana game during Purdue commercials. And so I was able to watch both the last, really the whole second halves of both games. And I saw most of the Purdue game because I was able to watch the first half of that one as well. And they were both extraordinary games. A lot of fun to watch. I thought Louisville put up a nice challenge for the Hoosiers. I saw some good things from IU. Obviously, still some struggles shooting the basketball, and they're going to have to work that out. They're going to have to figure out a way to get more and better perimeter shots in order to compete in the Big Ten. But I thought it was a good performance by the Hoosiers. And then the Boilers, they're continuing to get better, Jim. And Matt Painter's very subtly trying to make Roosevelt Colvin a bigger part of his team. This is the second game I watched of theirs in which Roosevelt was playing in the biggest minutes. Now, he's your freshman. The game is going down in the second half, and you need to maintain a lead. And he is out there, with the ability to make shots at a high level. I think he's 7 of 11 from 3 right now, playing in limited minutes. But I think that's huge for them, Jim. If Colvin is able to develop into a starter level player, whether he opens in the lineup or not, but if he's getting 20 to 25 minutes a game, it changes who they are as a team. They become more dynamic. They now have high-end talent. Obviously, Zach Edey is a high-end talent. He's a National Player of the Year. But you have to have those NBA guys, and Colvin may be that for them. That he made a huge difference for them down the stretch of the Xavier game, and then having him out there last night. They didn't necessarily need him, but he played really well in those moments, and I think he's continuing to evolve into a more important part of the team.
Yeah, if you get a guy that's playing those kind of minutes that's not starting, that's just like having 2 starters, basically.
Right.
Because when you take that number 1 guy out, and if you're bringing in a 1A guy, you're feeling pretty strong. I mean, Mike Woodson talks about the second unit all the time, which I don't know that I like that. I mean, it should just be a continuous mix of talent out there. But, Purdue is seemingly to kind of have put some separation between themselves and the rest of the league. Michigan State, I'm sure they'll be back in March, like we always talk about them then. But right now, Purdue seems to have separated themselves, but also Wisconsin looked really good yesterday and beating a Virginia team soundly.
It was a nice night for Trey Kaufman-Renn, too. I felt good for him because it's really been a struggle for him for most of last year to be the player that he had been. And then when I was up at Xavier, I just didn't see anything at all from him. And last night he was terrific, much more active, much more confident. Maybe it's about confidence right now for him, that if he plays with confidence and aggression, he's a better player. Now everybody's a better player, but he's a functional player. He's a positive player. He was not a positive player in the Xavier game. Wasn't a negative player, just wasn't there. He was out there, but he wasn't there. Last night, he was a difference maker in a lot of that second half. So good news for them. Purdue's going to continue to evolve into a terrific team, and one of the teams that's going to have a great chance to make the Final Four. I'm not sold that they have the talent to get through the two games at that stage. But I don't have any doubt that they're one of the best teams in the country, and they'll have a great shot at making it to Phoenix.
Not to change the subject, but I hear Matt Canada might be available for any coaching vacancies.
What are you hearing?
He just got fired.
Really?
Yeah. Apparently, we're getting that report now that Pittsburgh has parted ways with Matt Canada, which only bring that up because Mike's a good guy. So big news in Steeler country.
Yeah, that's huge news, and it's something that Pittsburghers thought would never happen. That Mike Tomlin was not going to abandon. Look, here's the problem with Matt Canada is simple. Jim. He had nothing on his resume that said he was an NFL offensive coordinator. A dozen years as a college offensive coordinator. I can get the numbers, but ballpark, he had 2 high-end seasons, one at Northern Illinois and one at Pitt. There are 130 Division I programs. I think he averaged, I don't want to say what the number was because I wrote about it earlier in the year, but his average was not in the top 30. Let's put it that way, in terms of offensive performance per year. And he's got a dozen seasons on his resume. And he should, like, if you're going to be in the NFL, you should at least be one of the 30 best college offensive coordinators, right? Because you're going to be you're going to have one of the 30 biggest jobs in the world in that sport and in that particular discipline. And he wasn't even one of the 30 best college guys, except for twice out of a dozen years. So there was no reason for him to have ever been hired to that position. Okay, so sometimes, they put Big Ten Network put me on TV. Somebody could say, why would they put him on TV? He's not been on TV before. But then I hopefully go on and then I show, well, I'm pretty good at this. I can do it. And my track record of still being there after 14 years suggests that maybe I'm at least okay at it. But Matt Canada never, what he put on the stat sheet or on film is historically poor. I mean, you're talking about the only team in the NFL that hasn't had a 400-yard offensive performance since he became offensive coordinator. Every other team in the league has had at least 3, I think, 400-yard performances, and he's had none. So that he could have surprised everybody by outperforming his resume. But at no point, he had 1 year with Ben Roethlisberger, didn't outperform his resume. 1 year with Kenny Pickett and Mitch Trubisky as quarterback, and didn't outperform his resume. So he probably should not have had the opportunity to get one more year. The mistake the Steelers made in the offseason was, well, Kenny's a rookie. Kenny Pickett, first-round pick out of Pitt, was a rookie. So we don't want to change up too much for him. So we'll let him keep the same offensive coordinator, and he's, of course, going to get better. Well, instead, he got worse. And Sunday in Cleveland was the nadir. It was the absolute it was the absolute bottom of the barrel for the Steelers' offensive football. And now you're seeing the difference. He's gone from the job, and it's something that no one thought they would do.
It's kind of like this comment from Tanis. He said Louisville looked like Indiana or Greg Kinnear's career. They just kind of faded away.
It's kind of hard on old Greg. He had a nice role.
I think he's funny.
I saw him in I can't remember the name of the miniseries. It was about a murder investigation in Illinois, and he had a nice role as a policeman in that. I mean, he's not okay. It's not Oscar bait and all that, but he's a working actor. He's all right. Let's get off Greg. Come on.
I was like, wow, where'd that one come from? Pulling up Greg Kinnear. Hey, we got to take a break. Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News is with us here at Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Greg Kinnear. That was not a name I thought I was here today. Yeah, Greg Kinnear is not a name I thought I would hear today.
Mike, did you listen to any of Bill Walton last night on the call in Maui?
Oh, I try not to. You know, the frustrating thing about his calls of games is that UCLA players are all relatively new, with the exception of Adem Bona. and you're trying to get to know who the players are, and you're not getting to that, So I'm not a huge fan of Bills.
I get why people dislike it, especially if you are trying to focus on the game itself. But from an entertainment perspective, especially if you're not a fan of the teams that are playing, I think it can be enjoyable. I had a good laugh a few times.
If I want to see stand-up comedy, I'll watch stand-up comedy. If I want to see
If I want to see stand-up comedy, I'll watch Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. Yeah.
I thought you were messing with me, Jim. I really did. I thought you were messing with me.
No, it started flying all over the place. I'm like, uh-oh. Things are happening early.
So I get online and I'm like, uh-oh. Schefter says
I know his name's been floated around for Indiana football in the past, and I know Indiana hasn't officially let go of Tom Allen, but like, do you even think that they would humor him?
No.
I don't think.
Did you not just hear any and everything Mike just said?
Oh, I heard what he said, but that doesn't mean that Indiana won't make a bad decision.
Well, there's that. You got me there. I got no response to that one, but no. And no and no. They cannot afford that.
Because I remember the thing last time was that the reason he didn't get the job was because he wanted to be able to not have anyone interfere with.
That was the
that was for the OC job.
That was the OC job.
That was for the OC job. That's right. All right.
Yeah,
here we go.
That sounds like Archie Miller.
Starts with Garnish Catering, serving all of Bloomington and surrounding areas. Garnish Catering is waiting to help make your next event one to remember. Planning a great event shouldn't have to be stressful. Whether we quote you just for catering or a total event package, you can trust that you're making the right choice with Garnish Catering. Visit garnishcatering.com. That's garnishcatering.com. Garnish Catering is a proud partner of Wow Food Group. This segment is brought to you by RE/MAX Advanced Realty, Indy Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Tuesday. Thanks a lot for being with us. Coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios North. This is our last day here in New York City for the Empire Classic that is now come and gone. Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News sitting in with us. Mike, I know that football is not your beat, but the Big Ten and Michigan has been must-see TV, and all of a sudden, and Michigan was screaming and shouting, and they were going to do it. And all of a sudden, it reminded me of Jimbo Fisher or Nick Saban when he said something about Texas A&M having the best roster that money could buy. And Jimbo says, hold on there, boys. I was an assistant at Alabama. And all of a sudden, Nick just shut right up. And pretty much what Michigan has done. Well, they're going to do this and they're going to do that. And all of a sudden, zip.
Well, it's going to be interesting this week. I mean, how could a game be more monumental than this? Two undefeated teams ranked second and third in the college football playoff rankings. And the reality is that with the way the season is breaking, that there's a very slim chance that both of them could get into the playoff because they probably would take Oregon if they're able to come back and beat Washington. Probably. You obviously have Florida State. If they stay undefeated, they're going to get in. Washington, if they stay undefeated, they're going to get in. So you have a couple of spots accounted for. If they're going to take a one-loss team and Georgia loses the SEC championship, they would be ahead of the Ohio State-Michigan loser in line. Now, if there's a way things could break right and a second could get in there. Texas is still out there as well with one loss, but for things to break right, Texas would have to lose. Maybe Florida State lose. You have Alabama get blown out in the SEC championship game. Not a prediction, or counting what could happen that would open the door for a second Big Ten team. But it would be one of those, everything went right for us on the last day of the NFL season for us to get in the playoffs kind of deal. The most likely outcome is one Big Ten team, and that Big Ten team is the winner of the Michigan-Ohio State game. Now, I will obviously have something to say about that in the Big Ten championship game, because neither Michigan nor Ohio State has demonstrated the kind of explosion offensively on a regular basis that they have in the past, that last year's Michigan team brought in, that some of the best Ohio State teams brought in the latter half of the teens, I guess we call it, the previous decade. They're both excellent, but I don't think either one has shown itself to be overwhelming on a consistent basis. When Ohio State went to Rutgers, it was a game for a while. So if Iowa was playing one of those two teams with the way that defense has played, maybe it's a game, and then who knows? But I suspect that it'll be one of the two of them that will make it into the playoff. And that's why this game, and then you add on the Harbaugh drama and the absence of Harbaugh.
Is there drama? Is there drama with Harbaugh?
Yeah, no drama, right? No more drama than in a typical episode of Days of Our Lives, for sure. It's been relentless for a month now, and that will have an impact on the game and the history. The spot game, the Troy Smith game. I mean, there's so much history in this football game, and it's made it a wonderful rivalry, and that rivalry is going to continue into the future without a doubt. They protected it. It's going to be played every year, but it'll have a little bit less significance in some ways because of the fact that the playoffs going to expand. And if they put two teams, if this were a 12-team year, they both would know they're in. They would be playing for pride, for a championship that means something, and also for an advantageous seed in the college football playoff tournament. But as it stands now, they're playing for survival. We want our season to come to fruition in the playoff and with a Big Ten championship. And so everything that can be on the line is on the line.
Yeah, it's the winner of it's Oregon and Washington in the Pac-12 championship game, which I don't know if that's been solidified just yet. I know Washington has done their side, or clinched, I think, a spot there. But it's whoever wins that game is going to be in the full playoffs, and whoever loses is out. And even if it's Washington with one loss, they're going to be on the outside looking in, unfortunately, because two reasons. Number one, Oregon played them, probably should have beaten them when they played at Washington. Some decisions that were made maybe could have put that game in Oregon's favor. But people are already looking for a reason to knock Washington down a little bit. But whoever wins that game is in. Florida State is the most vulnerable team because they lost their quarterback, and now they're looked at as not the same team without him. Of course, they have a chance to prove that on the field, but that kind of puts them in it really sucks for the team to play so well and to succeed all year long, and then to lose a player and to have that affect your status no matter what you do. Of course, if they win solidly and convincingly, I think that they'll be fine.
I think they'll put them in even if they don't win convincingly, unless there were. I don't think that mathematically we can have more than 4 undefeated teams right now among the majors. So I think that they would not do that. I have a hard time seeing them do that to a team that managed to be perfect in a major conference and not put them in because one of their guys got hurt. That would be brutal. That'd be like really jumping on the pile. So they have to play Florida this weekend, and then their championship game matchup will be against Louisville, which has had a remarkable bounce back season under Jeff Brom. They have not had to play the most difficult ACC schedule, but you beat who's in front of you, and now you've got the chance to beat Florida State and perhaps claim a championship for the Cardinals. I have a hard time seeing them leave Florida State out. The reasoning for me on Oregon versus Washington, if they split, is pretty simple, Jim. If you have two teams that play twice, and one of them is on one of the team's home field, and that home team wins, and then the other team wins on a neutral field, the neutral win triumphs. It would be interesting what they would do if the game had been at Oregon and Washington had won, and then Oregon won the championship game. That would be an interesting thing to ponder. And obviously we're never going to quite see something like that before the playoff expands, but we will possibly in the future see that as more leagues move to the 1-2 championship games instead of divisions. We may see that in the future, and we'll know which they value more based on seeding and placement in the bracket. Because again, if that game had been at Oregon and Washington had won it, and then they played again in a neutral field championship game, wouldn't Washington's win at Autzen Stadium be more impressive instead of the recency thing? So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see in the future whether that ever comes up. But for now, Oregon's advantage is that they lost on the road. It's harder to win on the road. But the two teams in a neutral environment, Vegas, probably half and half, more or less, depending on who shows up better. It's more of a even game. So whoever wins is going to warrant the spot in the playoff.
Tana says Washington is better than Ohio State, better skill players on offense at every position. I do think Washington is a better team, and I know you love Marvin Harrison Jr., but I think that Roma
better
Dunze,
skill players at every position than Emeka Ibuka and Marvin Harrison.
Roma Dunze is a bad man.
And Stover, the tight end. Come on, man. Let's get realistic here.
They have the top offense in the country.
I'm not saying they don't have the best offense. I'm not even saying that they wouldn't. I just said before that I didn't think Ohio State had an overwhelming offense because the quarterback play is still developing, and Washington's quarterback is significantly better than Ohio State's quarterback at this stage. I mean, Washington's quarterback's in his 5th year of college football, and how many years as a starter? 4 for Penix,
at least.
Kent McCord's playing. He's playing in his 8th or 9th or 10th game.
Dunze is great, but that would be a great game to see. Man, that would be. I hope we get to see that game. And that's very, very possible. Man, I think obviously Ohio State has a better defense, I think, than Washington does. And that may be a separation, but I don't know. That would just be fun watching those guys go at it. I don't think Michigan ends up in this picture, but I think Ohio State is going to beat them, and Ryan Day is going to have one of the best days of his life winning this game in the Big House. And I have this vision of him walking out to the center of the field and just pretending to shake a hand of a Tim Harbaugh that's not there.
Oh, wow. Hey, it's going to be hard because it's not easy to win at Michigan. Ohio State certainly has done it in the past, but this is a terrific Michigan team. I think the key really is that Ohio State's defense has to put a lot of pressure on the quarterback. We've seen over the last couple of weeks, McCarthy has not been as effective. He wasn't as effective against Penn State's defense. They ended up deciding to run the football because they were able to, partly, but also because they weren't able to get a lot going in the pass game against Penn State's pass rush. And then Saturday against Maryland, he wasn't effective at all against a much lesser defense than he faced in State College or that he'll face at home on Saturday against the Buckeyes.
Herbal says he's worried that Washington isn't going to be able to get past Oregon for a second time. And I think that's a very valid point because Oregon is one of the best teams in the country, period. Bo Nix is one of the best, if not he might be the Heisman frontrunner now, which is kind of funny how that has just, boy, the Heisman frontrunner has just been in circles all year long. It's been this guy. It's been Penix. It's been started with Caleb Williams. It has moved around. Marvin Harrison.
Jaden Daniels they're talking about down at LSU.
Daniels has had a
because after all, he had that big win against Georgia State on Saturday. It just, so impressive.
Yes, that's right. It's the SEC's time of giving for the year. As they give these big checks that they write out to these teams to come play right now. It is the time of giving, Thanksgiving this week. So, yes, and I agree with that. I hate that. It drives me insane when I see that. I'm like, why are they playing Joe Nobody this time of the year? Because they can. So there's that. But it is also a rivalry week. The big rivalries with Ohio State, Michigan, we mentioned, Indiana, Purdue playing the Apple Cup. The Pac-12 has just had an unbelievable season as far as teams. Arizona was a team that didn't even start out ranked, and they've been on a roll ever since, and they're ranked now. So it's just going to be fun. And this weekend, I'm looking forward to watching some games and just relaxing and trying to enjoy some of the last of these college football regular season games.
Oh, it's going to be a great weekend of football, without a doubt. That noon game on Saturday, it's hard to top that. But there'll be some great games on Friday as well, and then they'll carry on through the day. And Florida State obviously has a rivalry game against Florida. Florida has not played well. They lost another one last weekend at Missouri, and so that's an opportunity for them maybe to bounce back and hurt their rival. I mean, they ruin their rival season. The Gators do if they're able to beat the Seminoles this weekend. So lots of really interesting games. But boy, I tell you what, on Saturday when you wake up and like the first thing that they serve you the big porterhouse at noon, it is hard to think about eating anything beyond that.
Absolutely. And a lot of basketball going on because I mentioned earlier, all these tournaments, whether it's Maui or wherever, all these games are getting going. So there's just a plethora of whether it's football or basketball, college games coming up over this holiday weekend to enjoy and to take in. And I'm here for it, babe.
Absolutely. It's going to be a great weekend, without a doubt. Hope everybody has a magnificent Thanksgiving. Eats well, and remember those less fortunate, and everybody. I hope everybody enjoys the weekend because it's going to be a blast.
Absolutely. What any games that you're looking forward to taking in or this weekend basketball wise?
Well, I think the Atlantis field is an intriguing field. There's some really good games in the Orlando tournament as well. That'll happen. What a lot of the tournaments have done now, other than Maui, which plays Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, leading into Thanksgiving, they'll play on Thanksgiving Day and the Friday, and then take Saturday off to give college football its stage, and then they'll play their championship game Saturday in a lot of cases, they'll play the championship games later in the day out of the NFL window. So we'll have a lot. Well, really, it'll be a wall-to-wall sports weekend. It's going to be pretty amazing.
In 2 days, the Indiana women take on the Tennessee women. So a little throwback there. And Tennessee's ranked again at number 19. They're ranked a little higher than Indiana is. St. Joseph's gives Kentucky all they want in the Wildcat Challenge of all things. Yeah. Can you imagine if Kentucky had lost to St. Joseph's in the Wildcat Challenge, how well that would go over with the
yes.
Blue Nation.
Yeah, that game was that one sort of with all the Indiana stuff and Purdue playing at the same time, Kansas versus UCLA late last night, the U.S. soccer game I was covering, and then also taping the Wisconsin-Virginia game so I could watch that after I was done writing soccer. So I'll be honest with you, I was aware Kentucky was playing, but I'm like, in the back of my mind, I'm like, St. Joe's? I wouldn't mind watching that, but at the end of the day, it's just sort of forgot about it. And then I was watching the UCLA game this morning on the treadmill, and I'm like, wow, that game went in overtime. I wonder what happened there. That would have been problematic for Cal, but they've lost games like that before at Kentucky. They've had those occasions where they've dropped one early. This team is not what it's going to be, and I just don't know when it's going to be what it's going to be, because Bradshaw is still sitting there, Onyenso is still sitting there, Big Z is still sitting there, although we don't know when or if he'll get cleared to play. They're playing. They are as undersized a Kentucky team right now as we've probably seen since 1966, when they made the championship game with that group of 6'6" guys, included Pat Riley and Mike Pratt and others. That since then, I mean, they've always had size, but right now they don't have their biggest player is 6'8" in their rotation, Trey Mitchell. They've got 3 7-footers that are sitting there and haven't been able to help them.
Well, Mike, wish you happy Thanksgiving. I hope you have a great one. You make ours great just by being here. We're so fortunate. We're grateful for you, and wish you a good one until we see you again.
Well, happy Thanksgiving to you, Jim, John, you and yours. Can't wait to see you next Tuesday. We'll have a ton to talk about.
Absolutely.
Oh, by the way, before I go, I have the numbers on Matt Canada. I dug him out. He was an offensive coordinator for about a dozen years. He had 3 offenses that finished outside the top 80. He had 2 that finished inside the top 35. The average rank, now this is in scoring, not yardage. The average scoring offense rank for Canada's teams as a college offensive coordinator was 57th. How does that guy get to one of the 32 biggest jobs in at that particular discipline? I don't get it. And now we see the result.
Absolutely. Mike DeCourcy, the Sporting News. Give him a follow. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Well, I was trying.
No, you didn't do anything wrong. You're good.
Oh, that's right. We were perfect. Did you get a hold of any of those guys?
Rick didn't. So he sent me the email initially about an hour ago, and then I responded to him, but I never got a second response from him. So, but we'll have open. We'll be open here, and then Chronic will be after that.
Is this a full segment?
I mean, honestly, sometimes Chronic jumps on early, so we can just break whenever he gets in the green room. All right, here we go.
And we have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Rebesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com. That's mystonecrestliving.com for more details. This segment is brought to you by the Ugly Grouper. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Courtney, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Tuesday, Thanksgiving week. Our last day up in New York after Indiana plays in the Empire Classic for the 2023 season. UConn wins that championship. They knocked off Texas yesterday. Indiana wins third place, defeating Louisville after a back-and-forth game that finally saw Indiana go on a final run there at the end. That entire game was just full of runs, but they generally weren't good runs. They were runs of not scoring or by one team or not hitting a basket. It was almost amazing how many there were. But this was a game that everybody showed out for. I saw Fran Fraschilla. I think he was just here as a fan yesterday. Fran was on with us not too long ago. All the national guys, Myron Metcalf, you heard Mike mention earlier, Matt Norlander, Rothstein, all those guys were in for this game. Madam Zagoria. So everybody come out to see, and it certainly did not give Indiana did not. I don't think Indiana did themselves any favors for getting help when it comes to tournament selection time by their showing. They still have a long way to go in finding themselves and just developing an identity offensively. Other than Malik and Kalel, it's kind of hard to see anything that's really going on. I mean, Malik is really he's coming into his own. He is becoming more of a leader, more of a vocal leader. Kalel Ware has really played within himself so far this year, and you see him making improvements. So it's going to be interesting to see how this season continues, and we'll talk more about that. Also, Chris pointing out, did I see Vic's – well, I didn't click on that. Did we see Vic's clip of himself addressing the team? I didn't see that yet, but I did see Vic yesterday at the game.
If you want, give me just about a minute, and we can play that for people to hear if that's something you'd be interested in sharing.
Absolutely. Indiana playing soccer at number 7 Virginia next Sunday as the men's soccer tournament, NCAA soccer tournament continues. This in the third round, the Sweet 16. I think that Indiana has to win 4 games before they reach the College Cup, which I would really like to see that happen this year since it is in Louisville. That would be a nice, easy trip to make. Also, don't forget the college pick'em. Pete pointing out last week, week 12 best, Ethan Perkiser, 8 out of 10. 3-way tie for first place right now with Bill Evans, Jason Spiegel, and Bill Overman. 2 more weeks left. How's there 2 more weeks left? Well, I guess you've got the 12th game
next week and then the championship week. But I've got Victor Oladipo's message to the team if you want to go ahead and cut to that. So
absolutely.
And here's what Vic said to Indiana men's basketball in the locker room after the game yesterday.
It's always an honor just to come back and watch y'all play, man. To see there's no names on the back of the jersey still, and understanding it's bigger than the individual. It's a collective thing. It's a family. So we went to Cody Zeller wedding. We all was there. It's not going to change. Y'all can have the same impact with one another. It's bigger than basketball. Basketball is just it's the tool. It's the tool that sets everything up, right? IU gives you everything you need and more. Trust me, it saved my life coming here. Saved my whole life coming to this university. And it can do the same for y'all if y'all buy into it. Man, make the most of it. Every second, every inch, make the most of it, bro. Because it's just us. Because it's bigger than y'all. It's bigger than me. It's bigger than Coach. This is a different type of monster y'all wearing on y'all jersey. Different. Play like it. When y'all wear them candy stripes, it's no one in America that got the same sweatpants. It's a reason why. Play like it. That's the way we do it here. So I'm proud of y'all. That was a hell of a win. I'm standing up with y'all. I'm yelling on the sideline. I know y'all couldn't hear me.
It was funny. I saw him before the game, and then there was a time during the game where a Louisville player, which would have been far away from me on the right sideline, stepped out of bounds. And, you know, how the referees always like to point to the spot where they stepped out. I see this person stand up and do the same thing, standing right on the edge of the court, pointing down on the deal. And I'm like going, man, that dude's going to get – oh, no, that's Vic. He's all right. I was like, if that's anybody else, they're going to get booted. But I guess when you're someone of that stature, you can do that. You can step up to the court and touch the line as well. So it's cool to have when you see former players of teams, talk to them afterwards, hear what they have to say. But it's especially now, these guys are from so many different places. Rock on, baby.
That's my fault. I forgot I was in the stream trying to find a Mike Woodson press conference, and you know, sometimes those things go over the air by accident when an ad plays. So that's my bad.
That's not a problem. It's better than listening to me, I'm sure. But I forget what I was saying. But yeah, fun times. But surprisingly, he was the only person that I recall seeing in Madison Square Garden that kind of stood out, other than the media, like I talked about. A lot of times it brings out some peeps. I'll tell you one thing that I am upset about, John Boy, and that I believe it's tomorrow night in Madison Square Garden. Billy Joel is playing. And I'm like, oh man, really? So that's not like a bucket list thing or anything, but since you're here, you know, Billy Joel is New York, Madison Square Garden. That would have been a cool thing to do. So, but
I saw your boys from the Rolling Stones are about to go back on tour next year.
Yeah,
you've seen them a couple times, haven't you?
Gee whiz, 3 times. They've got to be what are they, 75, 6?
I'd say with that generation of rock and roll is definitely on their last. Like I know Aerosmith they were doing a farewell tour earlier this year, postponed a lot of it due to Steven Tyler having some vocal cord issues. I know Kiss is on their last leg of their farewell tour. But let's see the Rolling Stones. Mick Jagger. Let's see how old do you think Mick Jagger is? You said, oh wow, he's older than you think. He's 80.
Means a great deal to me.
I'm trying to get this stopped. My bad. Let's see if my sound was any better. It wasn't. Yeah, they had a funky setup. I don't know how people recorded stuff yesterday, because we tried and the sound wasn't good. They had a weird. Normally they have a board for you, or a box to plug into, and that wasn't the case here. But what was your question, brother?
No, I was looking at the age of Mick Jagger. How old do you think he is? I said a second ago, but you might not.
78.
He's 80, and they're still going back out on tour. I get it. Yeah, I guess tour as long as you want to. Who am I to say that bands
tour
should
as long
stop
as you
touring by
can.
a
What do you
certain
mean?
age,
Tour
but
as long as you can. The fact that he can still, my God, the fact that he can sing. Most people that are that age are in a retirement home.
yeah. I mean, well, I'm not going to say that I was about to say, but like there are people who don't live that long because they don't keep themselves healthy enough.
Well, speaking of that, look at Keith Richards. How long have been people saying that he looks like he's dead?
That's a good point. How old is Keith Richards? I bet he's up there.
Well, he's
too.
right about the same age.
He's 79, and he doesn't look nearly as good as Mick Jagger does, but they're about the same age.
Well, Keith Richards has looked like that for 40 years, though. That was my whole point. That was my whole point. But yeah, the fact that they're going out on tour, that is crazy. 79 and 80 years old, and sounds pretty good. Still, it's been 7 years since I saw them, so they were youngsters then. They were in their early 70s the last time I saw them.
Didn't you see them in Churchill Downs one time, or was that a long time ago?
That was in like 2007.
Okay, wow.
Churchill Downs, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and Mexico City's Formula One racetrack.
Well, there you go.
Three very cool, very, very cool venues. So what's everybody doing for Thanksgiving? Who's cooking? What are you cooking? What are your some different things? I don't want to hear about turkey. I want to hear about some different and unique things that you may be either cooking or looking forward to having. Brian saw them at OSU's football stadium. That had to be a hell of a show. Fred pointing out better living through chemistry, although I think it's a different chemistry than most people would think. But looking forward to that. And hey, a big shout out again to Clayton Anderson for joining me on the pregame show the other day. That was the most fun that I've had in a long time. That was a fun time doing that pregame show. And shout out again to the IU Alumni Association for letting us take part in that over at was it Mustang Harry's? That seems like so long ago.
What a cool name, Mustang Harry's.
Yep, and that place was overrun by Indiana fans, at least in the beginning of the game, and then moronic UConn fans afterwards. Stiff arm, I liked it. Stiff arm. Did you even see that, John?
I haven't checked it out yet, but I do need to go back and see that because
yes.
Sounds funny.
Oh yes, little hilarity, Had to give the old stiff arm to a exuberant UConn fan, which I didn't even know he was a UConn fan at first. I didn't care, but buffalo chicken sliders. Hold on, I've already missed some good stuff here.
Yeah, we've got a lot of comments on the Thanksgiving food question that you proposed.
Gritty says we have cheesy carrots. That kind of defeats the purpose of the healthy part there, but I'm not saying.
I think isn't that the point of Thanksgiving, to make healthy things unhealthy? I think that's kind of because if not, you just have a bland.
I'll go with that. I'm not. It doesn't sound bad. I mean, Tanis makes Brussels sprouts and broccoli roasted with garlic, bacon, and onions. That sounds delicious. And somewhat healthy, but good. Gritty says the cooked carrots with Velveeta, butter, and crackers crumbs on top. Yeah, I'm sure it's good, but that is definitely not what you'd call healthy. But hey, it's about giving thanks, not about giving health, right? How about Herbal with the buffalo chicken sliders?
Go down a few more comments. You got some oyster dressing. That's very unique.
Cheryl, let's see. Her kitchen is currently just now being installed, so they're just going to get a tray from McAllister's Deli. That's the easy way to do it.
Making things easy. There you go.
Making things easy. Yeah, Brian says the oyster dressing, his grandfather always made it. That sounds pretty daggone good. Fred's going to have him a good old-fashioned Swanson's TV dinner. I didn't know they still made those. in front of the tube watching NFL as a tradition. Oh, I'm looking forward to that. I'm not going to lie.
I've already got my Thursday NFL parlay picked out. It's nothing super extravagant.
Yeah, so do I. You know what it is?
What is it?
Sleep plus 10.
Sleep plus. Hey, go ahead. Take that in. Take in the sleep. I'll be getting some. Maybe not as much.
I cannot wait.
You have been running rampant.
I cannot wait until Wednesday night when I go to bed, and I plan to wake up at some point, but I hope that is stretched out as long as I can. Yeah, I'm a little tired. Not gonna lie, but let's see. Cooking Genius, just add bacon. That is not a bad suggestion. There's not much that you can't help with a little bacon in there. But we're getting all kinds of recipes going now. Cheryl says bacon makes everything better. You're not lying. What is a baby pig? Bacon seeds? What? I missed that. Individually stuffed Cornish game hens from Five Laughs. Man, we got all kinds of stuff going out. Yeah, I am going to pass out. That is no joke, bro. Now, I said that we weren't going to talk about turkey, but since this is fresh turkey that is raised on the farm, I'm going to give Bill up from the UP. Is that up turkey? Are those UP turkeys? I know he's up in the UP. Robert's laid up with foot surgery, so we'll get well soon. So it's just him and the wifey Pooh. He has a simple dinner, smoked turkey breast. Oh, Pete doing it's a bloody merry morning, and she left me without warning sometime in the night. He's doing a Bloody Mary bar.
You know what I've always wanted to try? It's been out for several years now, and obviously we're not sponsored by the restaurant I'm about to name, but the Popeyes Cajun turkey looks and sounds absolutely delicious.
Why would you not try it? Why would you not try it?
Well, one, I'm not usually the one cooking, and two, it's fairly expensive. I believe it goes for about $50 or $60 a turkey, which is obviously a little more expensive than your average turkey. But maybe if I'm ever hosting a Thanksgiving, I'll give the Cajun turkey a shot. If you've ever had it, let me know. I'm curious if it's any good.
I have not, but it sounds good. Hey, I like Cajun anything. Spicy. I love spicy food. Big spicy eater. Would love to have had some Mexican while I was here, but didn't run across it. So, but hey, we've got to take a break. Chronic Hoosier up next here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and we're back with more from New York City right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
I'm honestly starting to think Chronic might not be joining us today. Usually he's on way before now, and I have not heard from him. So, but you never know. He may join us.
This is going to be a long day.
What time's your flight home?
5:30. I hope that it's a good traveling day since it's Tuesday and not Wednesday.
You'll be beating the Thanksgiving rush, hopefully.
Yeah, and it's in the kind of the middle of the day or late in the day. Oh my God. Well, we got 2 segments left.
Yes.
Does IU have any clean sound for Woody?
I looked and they didn't have anything on their site. I thought they were going to.
Well, yeah, I mean, ours just was not clean audio.
I don't think anybody has clean audio. Again, Indiana didn't have any audio. Like, they didn't even post anything. Usually they do. And those are the ones I usually point or pick because they're the cleanest audio. All right, here we go.
Grouper filet and enjoy it cooked to perfection in Chop Shop Steakhouse. Chop Shop Market and Table, a part of the Wild Food Group, is your butcher, baker, and fish house, no matter where you live.
This segment is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Tuesday, our last day in New York, as Indiana was competing in the Empire Classic. A fun event that most New Yorkers probably had no idea was going on. Easily could say that. Although down around the Market Square Arena or Madison Square Garden area on the first game day, there was Indiana people everywhere. And I didn't see hardly any Louisville fans. Didn't see hardly any Texas fans. It was Indiana and UConn, but more Indiana fans than probably UConn, I think. Which is not surprising, but it's always surprising when you outdraw somebody who is right in their own backyard. But it's also a great destination. Last year, Indiana played in Las Vegas. They had a great following out there. This is obviously another great destination coming to New York City. Thanksgiving, getting close to Christmas, they're putting up all the Christmas decorations over around 30 Rockefeller Center. So this is an exciting time in New York. So I guess it's a good time to be here. Also a good time to be leaving. I'm looking forward to it. We've got a big holiday weekend coming up. John, you said you've got your parlay picked out, and we'll have to get over also to I'm going to pull up the
the pick'ems.
College pick'ems, yeah.
While you're doing that, I'll go ahead and share what my picks are.
Even though I got screwed out of those 3 games, I'm hanging in there. Just not quite where I'd like to be, but sliding over here to the college pick'ems for 2023. I'm amazed that we've had such a tie at the top. I mean, all year long, it's been back and forth. Different guys in and out of the top. We'll go through this week's picks as well, because at the top, very first one is Ohio State and Michigan. So that's going to be fun. I'm currently in 9th place. That's with all the ties. That's with a 3-way tie for first, and then a 2-way tie for 4th. Then 1 and 6th, 1 and 7th, 1 and 8th, and then how many of us are tied for 9th? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Woo! Man, had I not missed those 2 games, where would I be? 75 and 46 probably. It would just move me up 1 spot. But congratulations to Bill Evans, Jason Spiegel, and Bill Overman right now. Leaders at the top of the board going into the last regular season game. 81-39 on the year. That's pretty daggone good. Pretty good. I went 6-4 last week. There were some upsets. I can't remember who they were, but I guess I can always look back at those. But yeah, there were some upsets last week that that was like my second worst week. But this week, you got Michigan and Ohio State to start it off, man. Then you've got Louisville and Kentucky. Then UNLV and San Jose, the Illini and Northwestern. So these are mostly, if not all, rivalry games. Minnesota and Wisconsin, Virginia Tech and Virginia, Jacksonville State and New Mexico State, Kansas, Cincinnati, Clemson, South Carolina, North Carolina, and North Carolina State. So those are this week's games, highlighted by the big one on top, Michigan, Ohio State. Who wins that game? I think Ohio State does. But there's nothing more Michigan than for Michigan than to win that game, without question. But they had a rough go of it last week. Buddy Maryland gave them all they wanted. And, of course, that game was on the road. They were without Jim Harbaugh. Obviously, it made a difference. I don't know if that made the difference or the continued noise around Michigan made the difference, because obviously Michigan was all posturing and had their chest all swelled out until they didn't all of a sudden, until the additional information popped up involving a booster, involving another assistant coach, destroying evidence. It became, I think, pretty clear to the Michigan people, at least those in charge, maybe not, I don't know if the fans have gotten a good grasp or not yet on the fact that, yeah, you all cheated, and you cheated pretty badly. So I think it must have, because it sure has, that chirping has sure quieted down. The threats of court and this, that, and the other thing, they're hoping to hold on. I saw a report yesterday that there is a very good chance that Harbaugh ends up being suspended for a good chunk of 2024. I've said I don't think I would be surprised if he's at Michigan next year. And if I was Michigan, I'm not sure that I'd want him back. I know that there's that fine line juggling success, but it has been one thing after another since he's been there, trying to get them to that level. He was suspended for the first 3 games of this season, suspended for the final 3 games of this season, with yet more to most likely come, without question. What are the favorite games that you're looking forward to this weekend? What are your Thanksgiving traditions? What are you guys looking to do? Hardball to the Bears. Yeah, that is. And guess what? Guess who's the president of the Chicago Bears, John Boy? Your favorite commissioner and mine, Kevin Warren.
Mr. K-Dub.
Yeah, so that would be perfect for him to take a cheating coach as their next coach. That would just really, that would complete it for me. That would be a good marriage. That would be a very, very good marriage. So I hope that happens. If you're a Bears fan, sorry about your luck. But yeah, it is in rivalry week. Let's see. What are we talking about here? Tanis, 5 lefts. He spent most of his life learning the trade from the bottom up, but I missed the first part of it. So on that comment, so I got lost on that one. Fred is going to be doing a 1-hour ride into New York City on the 9th for the day. So there you go. He'll be up here in just a few weeks. what is that, 3 weeks? What are we talking? 2.5, 3 weeks? I still can't believe this is Thanksgiving week. I mean, the fact until someone mentioned it yesterday, I was like, oh yeah, I kind of forgot. Yeah, John, you got to open up your wallet and get you some Popeyes turkey. I didn't know that was a thing. I did not know.
It's been around for a long time, and I guess who was the one saying I need to get that? Was it Five Lefts? Or who
Roberts, I believe. Yes,
yeah, Robert. If you've had that turkey, I need to. I'll eventually open up the wallet and maybe splurge a little bit, especially because it's not every day you have a good turkey. It's definitely one of the least popular meats, I feel like, which is weird that we use it for a holiday like Thanksgiving. But if you dress it up right, you give it all the good stuff, the fixings, the seasonings, that kind of thing, it can be delicious, but you got to have the right person behind it.
It can be delicious. Just like
I would reckon that 70% of people's Thanksgiving meals with turkey are less than memorable.
Yeah, I wonder how many. I wonder what the percentage of people that have turkey. It's gone down probably. Just because
definitely younger generation for sure.
Options. Well, because if you don't make it right, it can be dry. But it's a tradition. But you got to have that ham there.
I feel like ham is usually more popular around Christmas, and some people do ham for both. But
Christmas ham, absolutely. But then there's the people who have the unique food. Some, I mean, off
like
the wall.
Don't people? I can't remember this on a podcast. Hold on,
Did you say owl?
I'm pretty sure I heard this on a podcast about a year ago.
Oh, really?
It might have just been a joke.
From who?
But
who?
Someone was saying that either they need to cook up a Thanksgiving owl, or that they heard someone that had made owl for Thanksgiving.
Well, I don't even know that.
I don't even know if that's legal. You can't shoot an owl, and
exactly. That's my thought. Exactly. I don't know that that's legal. I don't know. I don't know if owl is. There's a lot of different owls, but first of all, finding them, I guess it's not that. They're kind of difficult. I heard an owl the other night. Where was I? Still at home? Maybe. Yes, I was. I heard an owl before I left. Come up here.
Here we go. Let's go through this real quick, and then we'll take our last break. This is 7 vintage Thanksgiving side dishes no one makes anymore. First one is I'm going to skip that one. I don't even know what that one is. Jell-O salads made for festive centerpieces.
God, those are disgusting. They usually have a bunch of crap in them.
This doesn't look any better. A spring basket dessert that consists of fruity Jell-O with chunks of fruit inside. This doesn't. It just looks. Why did people ever do this?
Well, so they did it back in the day when that's all they had, I guess, and those traditions were carried forward until finally people said, this is not really that good. We've got a lot of other things that are tasting a lot better these days that we could use.
This next one may be more common still. Creamed corn.
Not a fan.
Doesn't look it looks like scrambled eggs.
I love corn, but I'm not a fan of creamed corn.
Here's an interesting one. This is hot Dr. Pepper over lemon slices.
I've never even heard of that, much less have I tried it. How does one even come up with that?
Someone had to what I almost said laxatives. What hallucinogens were you on?
What laxatives?
Made you think this is a good idea?
Where's your mind?
I was just trying to think of a drug. Whatever Bill Walton does when he's on the broadcast, that kind of stuff. Obviously, he's not doing laxatives.
Well, it's certainly a laxative of the mouth.
Last one, and we'll take our last break. Hellman's mayonnaise apparently has a recipe for a Thanksgiving-themed cranberry surprise.
Yeah, that cranberry is always an iffy proposition.
And by the way, Tanis confirms that owls are nationally protected by law. You can't hunt, trap them, or eat them. So if you've got that Thanksgiving owl, you may need to keep that under wraps just so the law doesn't come to your home on Thanksgiving Day and, get you in all sorts of trouble.
Philip asking if I'm going to Central Perk or McLaren's Pub. I know the Central Perk reference. Where's McLaren's? What's McLaren's related to?
See, I know Central Perk as well, but I also don't know McLaren's. Let's figure it out. Oh, it's How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah, didn't watch that show.
I watched half of it. I don't remember why I stopped. It was pretty funny. But I'd heard that the ending was terrible, and I still haven't seen the ending to this day, and I won't spoil it for anybody who may or may not still be watching that show. But it's funny if you're into more modern sitcoms.
Gritty says the post-game show with Don Fisher last night was fast because they had to catch their flight, which I thought they were going home today when I was talking to someone before.
Things
the game.
Get redirected, I'm sure. You never know.
Yeah, so who knows? Break. But we got to take a break. Indiana Sports Beat Radio got another segment. We'll be back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
In the market.
I love how people are talking about owls in the comments section now.
What are they saying?
Robert says in northern Brown County, you hear owls and all sorts of screams and howls as well as birds in the evening. I wonder if I guarantee you there's somebody out there. Especially people who are away from civilization, far enough from a town, that are shooting down their local owl for the hell of it for Thanksgiving. I mean, not everybody can be caught.
Fish.
Do what?
For the hell of it, that's fish.
Oh, there you go. Good joke.
Why do you think people are shooting owls?
I don't know why, but maybe they just want something different. You think an owl would taste good? Maybe we can talk about that in this final segment. I'll look up things that might make an owl taste better.
Well, salt, I'd start with that. Man, I wish I could get a 2-hour delayed checkout.
You got to be out.
I don't know. It's usually like 11 or 12. But I probably need to be at the leave for the airport at 2. For real. I guarantee you I'm going to fall asleep on this plane. Well, maybe not, because on the way out here I had a front row seat against the window, and I did fall asleep. This time I think I've got a middle row seat.
What airline you flying?
Oh, Spirit.
Oh yeah, we love redneck Spirit.
Yeah.
It's actually not redneck. It's more just trash, right?
It's actually not. It's just
really
just try to get as much. They try to make up money in so many other ways.
Oh, here's Chronic. I guess he's going to come on for the last segment. You hear us, Chronic? You hear me, Chronic?
Dude, I just got out of a fucking meeting that ran a day and a half long. I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. You're going to be able to join us for the final segment, so that'll work out.
I'm so sorry. I couldn't even get my phone out because I was the one answering questions.
All right, here we go.
In Bloomington.
Shit.
This segment is brought to you by Hank's Pizza Mac. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Tuesday. Thanks a lot for being with us, and a big thanks to Chronic Hoosier joining us. How are you doing, sir?
Running late as always, but glad to join. Sorry, I was a little bit delayed. Could not get out of that meeting.
Never a problem. I spend half my life running late.
If I wasn't behind, I wouldn't know where I was at, Jim.
I'm telling you, brother. Indiana, a big weekend up in New York. Obviously, some of it went well, some of it went bad, but nonetheless, they are better for the wear, and we'll use that and move forward. The first game, of course, against a very, very good UConn team, the reigning national champion, and they look every bit as much as good as they would have this time last year, probably better on the UConn side. As they roll Indiana, then they beat Texas as well to win the championship. Indiana then takes on a game Louisville team that gave Texas all they wanted, and then ended up giving Indiana all they wanted until things went the Hoosiers' way toward the end of the game. But a fun time was had by all that came to New York, I'm pretty sure, except for those that may have left after Saturday's game.
Yeah, it was good to see them get the win last night. It was good to see them find a way to battle back. What was the deficit? I think it got up to 7 or 9 even in the second half. After I felt like they should have had a double-digit lead to close the half. And you don't want to see them let that slip. The decision to switch to zone proved to be fortuitous for them, albeit a little unsettling to some of the diehards. But I think I see this team leaving New York with probably some more concerns than we had before we went there. UConn is a national championship caliber measuring stick, and they were certainly found wanting. I don't know that forebodes terribly well for some of these future matchups, against whether it be Maryland or Michigan, but especially the Auburns and the Kansases. I think IU's guard play is perhaps a little more concerning than what most had anticipated it would be, being some of the most known quantities on the team in Xavier and Trey. It's one of those where there's some pretty glaring flaws right now. The 3-point line obviously being just mind-bogglingly bad for IU still. I think Galloway is hopefully going to pull out of his slump that he's in right now, but it doesn't show any sign of abating. And as we've seen too often already, that's been a massive disadvantage for Indiana. And as you start to get into some more stiff competition here going forward, that result against UConn just seems more and more probable, unless they can get some stuff figured out. And I think there are certainly some positive signs in the post, but it's also one of those situations where, and you saw it probably best with Caleb Banks last night. Sometimes the greatest ability is availability, and being available to have your number called, whether it be due to health or foul situations. That's been something that Indiana has shown it can be very vulnerable. Because while Malik Renew is proven to be extraordinarily effective, he's only effective when he's on the floor. When you're sitting on the bench, that's not a winning recipe, and you can pretty much take that down the line with Mbako and everybody else. And that's before you get into the defensive issues. The only reason they were able to get back in that game is because they had to give up on what they wanted to do in the man and get into zone, and really left Louisville befuddled there. And I don't know that that's something that's going to bait anytime soon either, because right now our guards are just getting diced up, and it's just putting them into rotations too early, which is contributing to the 3-point issues. So there's a whole host of stuff for Mike Woodson and his staff to work on with little time. You've got one more game before the Big Ten starts in earnest 1st of December, and then it gets really quick there for those first couple of weeks. So we'll see what they can get fixed, but it's a laundry list right now.
Some of these guys hitting a freshman wall, which I don't even for a wall. Mackenzie Mbako has not even extended it out yet. But even Gabe Cupps, who started out really looking really good, has when you step up in competition, that you're also stepping up your learning curve. And so these guys are facing, as I said earlier, Gabe Cupps, Mackenzie Mbako, these guys were playing in high school last year, and they just got done playing against a team that won a national championship. So it is a great learning time for these guys.
Yeah, it's unrelenting and it's unforgiving, and I think it's going to make for a stronger team down the road. But right now, they got to figure out how you're going to beat Maryland, how you're going to beat Michigan, how you're going to beat Harvard first. It is probably trending more towards where the national prognosticators had pinned this team rather than what a lot of us were perhaps expecting. And I don't think this is by any means determinative of what this team's ceiling is going to be. I think what this shows you is when you bring in this many new faces, when you put guys in new roles, and sometimes that role's even just a captain. I mean, leadership roles that weren't previously assigned that now there's nobody else. That can be a tough transition when you're used to having guys like Trace Jackson Davis, Race Thompson, even Miller Kopp for that matter. There's just been a lot of change, and Indiana is certainly going through some of those growing pains right now and learning how to adapt to it. And, I think you see that down the line. And I think that's something that's certainly correctable, but like a lot of things, something that takes time and repetitions and just getting games under your belt and sets under your belt. So, I think that the half full side of it is you love to see them face some true adversity last night in a non-home environment and find a way to pull through it. And they got a cover out of it even for the first time this year. So like I said in my tweet last night, they're making progress. It may not be as fast as folks would like to see. It may not be sufficient to keep pace with the rest of the league here. But there's certainly a road to travel still. And I think the ceiling remains high. We'll just see how close they can get to achieving it to its fullest here in the coming months.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting because I'm not sure this is an NCAA tournament team from what I've seen so far. There's obviously a lot of season to play. We're just getting underway, but there have been enough things that have brought a lot of things to note that probably wasn't expecting. I didn't expect Indiana to be this poor of a shooting team again. I thought that they would be a little better at the guard position than they are. And I obviously expected a little bit more out of Mackenzie Mbako than we've seen so far from him. So with all of that kind of knocking it down, it's put Indiana in a tenuous position, although, like I said, we've just gotten the season started. But you can draw some conclusions.
Yeah, looking at the KenPom numbers this morning, Indiana's played one team inside the top 100. That's UConn at number 3. Louisville being the third highest rated team. Actually, KenPom has Wright State one spot above them. But with this small sample size, but getting a taste of what the bottom looks like as well as the very top, you've got an offense that's ranked 100th in the country in efficiency. You've got a defense that's ranked 68. And I'm not in any shape to go back through the last 20 years of KenPom records, 25 years, but I'd be willing to bet you don't see a lot of teams get a tournament invite with that profile right now. And again, I'm not saying that's where they're going to end up, but where they're starting from right now just shows how much work Woody and his crew have to do on these guys if that's in the cards for them right now. So I think that's one of the joys though of seeing some of these younger teams, some of these newer constructed teams is part of the journey and just seeing how much of that potential they can realize. But there's certainly a long way to go in order for them to get there right now.
Yeah, and for a team that did not want to go inside out, their best play has come from the inside with Kalel Ware and Malik Renew. Those two have consistently looked the best offensively, at least for the Hoosiers, and have done a good job. For the most part, Kalel Ware was 2 of 10 against UConn, with both of those being 3-point shots. But he has been either high on the rebounding side, and Malik Renew has been scoring, but not always rebounding. Indiana has finally did not get out rebounded by a team last night. They out rebounded Louisville. So there were a lot of positives to take away. It was a game that got scary for a minute. And but Indiana's change to the zone defense at the end, allowing them to just pull away, was a gigantic difference in that game.
Well, and keep in mind too, what you're seeing right now is with a very limited profile available for coaches to scout against us. But what's become glaring, and what you saw, Dan Hurley just nailed us on it. This is not a shooting team, and when our most effective weapons are inside right now, it's going to get increasingly difficult for them unless the guard play can step up and give them some space, because I think you're going to see teams daring us to shoot it. Right now, Indiana's sitting at 342 nationally in 3-point percentage. There's only 20 teams in the nation that shoot the three ball worse than Indiana does right now. And that's just going to create additional struggles and doubles and triples even for those big guys, unless the guards can find some reason, and not just guards, the wings as well. But unless some of those perimeter players can open up some space, it's just going to get increasingly difficult as teams continue to pack the paint and dare Indiana to beat them from outside. And that's a little troubling, because for a team that was trying to move away from that, you're kind of defaulting back into that position, albeit with the less effective weapons inside, perhaps. So they've got to get some stuff figured out there for sure. And we'll see. I think you've seen Woody right now trying to experiment and see who's gonna step up when those situations arise. But right now, I don't know that anybody's seeing the answers that they necessarily want in that regard.
What are your Thanksgiving plans?
Well, I already did Thanksgiving with my family this Sunday at the farm. Always a good time. Got the whole crew back together under the roof, and Mom's world famous peanut butter soup. It's crazy, but it's Colonial Williamsport soup. Look it up. It's always the highlight of any meal Thanksgiving at the farm. But we got that under the belt. The wife has already got the Thanksgiving, or I'm sorry, the Christmas is already up. Well, she's off with the kids this week, so they've been spending their time getting all holly jolly. And then we're gonna have my mother-in-law over for some turkey and some vino. And then on Thursday, and then we're gonna blink, and it's gonna be December here, man. So we're trying to enjoy the time off. Just got the first fire lit last night, and was nice to put a victory log on top of it. Hopefully, we can keep that rolling this weekend with the bucket up for grabs.
Yeah, Indiana taking on Purdue this Saturday in rivalry week, and nothing to play for either team except for pride.
It's a tough spot. You always hate to see it, and this is one that really, really challenges these guys, because there is nothing left to play for. It's all pride at this point, and it's unfortunate that both teams find themselves in this position. The bucket game is always, at least for me, a lot more enjoyable when there are bigger stakes on the line, whether it be bowl eligibility or placement or what have you. But right now, the Hoosiers are just trying to get a multiple conference win season scraped together. And I don't even want to get into what comes next. I don't know that this game really matters a hill of beans as far as that is concerned. But it certainly makes one argument a whole lot harder if you can at least get one trophy in the cabinet this year.
Yeah, I think we'll be talking about that next week. But I think that decision, whatever that be, has been made. Although I could be wrong, but I feel pretty confident that that decision has been made. But we looking forward to Thanksgiving. Looking forward to hearing all the Thanksgiving stories, all the great meals, the unique things. What's the most unique thing you have to eat during a holiday period like this?
I'm going to say the peanut butter soup is certainly Thanksgiving tradition. That's something my mom's been doing for years. We thought she was crazy until we tried it and realized it's literally one of the best things I'm going to put in my mouth the entire year. Other than that, man, not a whole lot. I'm married to a vegetarian. She's been a vegetarian for about 30 plus years, 35 plus years now. So, it's cool. She lets me and the kids do our thing. She does hers, and I get lots of greens, and we make it work.
Well, it sounds great, brother. We look forward to talking and hearing about it next week.
Hopefully we got a bucket in hand and another NCAA soccer tournament game on the schedule, but we'll see you guys then. Happy Thanksgiving, y'all.
Happy Thanksgiving to you, Chronic Hoosier, and to everybody else. Big thanks, of course, to Mike DeCourcy, to John, the producer, for keeping us between the white lines. Most importantly, to you guys. Without you, we have no reason to be here. Of course, we have another show to go tomorrow before Thanksgiving holidays kick in. But until then, I'm Jim Coyle, and I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.